Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Streamed live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation. And I'm joined this morning by my good friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommy. What's up, man? What's up?
It's great to be with you and our community this morning. I'll tell you, Eric, that getting up early Saturday mornings is not only an interest of mine, it's a habit.
I love that.
It's a habit.
Absolutely.
Right? My body, my mind, my spirit gets me up, gets me excited.
Right.
That the weekend just begins with our show and conversation.
You heard that. It begins with our show. And I'm going to tell you this. We will share things that hit us spontaneously. And a spontaneous thought that I just had, Tommy, was that getting up on a Saturday morning to go do something on a regular basis is not something that Tommy and I would just do because we're worn out through the week.
Right.
And our lives are very busy. What we do here with you, community, is so valuable and so rewarding that it's literally a blessing to be able to come here and spend time with my brother and to spend time with you.
Yeah, Eric, and we want to thank our community. Our community, not only in the tri-state area of Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, right. We all know our folks in California waking up 3 hours,
That's
right?
That's
Joining
right.
us 3 hours, so many. Our folks in Mexico, in Georgia,
Australia,
on the East Coast, Australia, Europe, around the world, thank you. Because again, instantaneous thought, Eric. So there are folks joining us in our community 3 hours early. But those in Australia, it's almost later in the day,
right?
If not the next day,
right?
We're global. We are. Yeah,
That's
we're
right.
Still the number 3.
Moving up though. We're moving up the chart
in the world, right?
And I tell you, as a result of that, we are getting more requests from podcast handlers and people's agents trying to get them on our podcast with simple, and that's how we see ourselves, just simple Tommy and Eric. We started this journey 7 years ago. We've been having a blast by ourselves for the first half of that 7 years.
Yeah. And
now that people are beginning to come, we know that they're coming to Diversity Conversations because of the community and you all's voices as well.
Yeah. I wanted to say this real quick, Eric. I have my athletic gear on right now. That's the way I'm looking. Eric, you look like you're part of the cloth.
Thank you. That's right. I got a collar. Thank you. If anybody needs,
we touch everyone. We don't discriminate. We know, Eric, in this work of economic inclusion, diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, belonging, justice. In this work, we never shame, never blame, and never victimize.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so we are people, we're humans, we're professionals, business owners, all of us for the most part. We're just trying to get through this thing called life.
That's right.
Right. So I am excited about this morning. In the conversation.
And we got a great guest that we're going to bring up in a few. Tommy, we start off by talking about our week. You want to share anything about how was your week? I know you were traveling, all kind of things happened.
Yeah, I'll just share something real quick. A quick shout out to our partner out in Durango, Colorado. Every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I travel to partner with our client there. Been doing it for about 4.5 years. We are facilitating their Inclusive Excellence Coalition, which consists of community members, parents within this school district, faculty, staff, administrators, board members, advocates from the community. So there's about 50 people to come together.
Okay.
And we are working through right now developing our next 2 to 3 year strategy.
Okay.
And so I do want to shout out Durango School District. And then also, Eric, full transparency, I got a little bit beside myself when I was out there. We were working in the strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
And I got wrapped up in my own thoughts where I thought that we were not moving as quickly as I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so as we were going through our breakout sessions, trying to go through our objectives, goals, measures, strategies, etc., I found myself thinking first for the client saying, how can I move our conversation to action?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there's a lot of talking that we do,
Right.
but I don't see a lot of action from it.
Right.
I see some plans, some initiatives, but I don't see the action. And I found myself being a little bit frustrated, and I vocalized a little bit diplomatically.
Right.
I was just like, we're doing a lot of talking. There's some folks that are not coming back to the coalition. How might we move to action? And our contact, my contact at the school district, she said, perfect timing.
Right.
And she listed the accomplishments that we were able to achieve over the last 4 years. It was a laundry list of things.
Okay.
And so I will share this to folks before I turn it back over to you, Eric, that in this work, there are sometimes those things that are visible, right? We put it on a boilerplate, it's on the website, it's on newsletters, it makes the news and the newspaper. And then there's a lot of other small achievements, right? Small achievements. And with the client saying, hey, over the last 4 years, we have easily 15 new achievements each year, right? Each year. Steady the course, good people.
That's right.
We're under attack, obviously, with all this stuff. Stay the course. Keep the strategy.
Absolutely.
Stay the course.
Absolutely.
Eric, how's your week?
That's a good word. Had a great week. Had a chance to represent you with one of your clients, and we had a great time. Tommy and I will work on, we're partners. So, you know, if you're working with him, it's like you're working with me. If you're working with me, it's like you're working with him. So that was a delight. Also had a chance to work with the Women's Business Enterprise, WBE, Ohio River Valley. We had a webinar, if you will, talking about the evolution and current state of DEI, and was able to encourage people there. There are a lot of things that are going on right now. The current administration is looking at trying to disband the Department of Education. Who would have ever thought that that would be thinkable? And I'll tell you that if they are successful, which I believe they will be, in dismantling that, that's going to set back so many of our young people, not just young people of color, but young people and their families that have to depend on the federal government to make sure that civil rights and that the needs of special needs families are taken care of. So I've got some concerns about that. Trump this week has sort of walked away from Ukraine, and I heard him even talk about almost like he was bragging that they were being bombed to death. And this is one of our closest allies, and Russia is an enemy of ours. They're attacking us right now. They're attacking our IT infrastructure, and so they are in no way a friend of ours. They are talking about getting rid of 70,000 Veterans Administration employees. I'll tell you, I'm not down on the notion of reshaping, resizing our government. I believe that one of the good things that Donald Trump is doing is he's doing something that I don't think, Tommy, that the Democrats or Republicans would do. And that is try to bring down the size of government, because our spending is far outpacing our revenues. And so I think that that's a good thing. The other thing I see him do that I think is a good thing is he will adjust. In other words, as the stock market begins to speak to him about these tariffs, and as the constituents begin to speak to congressmen and senators about their disdain and frustration around many of these cuts and how they're affecting their lives, he's looking at making adjustments. He's gone to his cabinet secretaries now and said, look, you all are going to be the first ones that are going to be managing the downsizing, and then we'll look at it afterwards. So a lot going on. The last thing that I had to go to sleep on, it was too much media stuff for me. And, Tommy and I say to you that you got to manage your own internals. Don't allow what's happening in the world to overtake you. But when I heard one of the conservative talk host that was pushing for President Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, the police officer that killed George Floyd. I was just done for. And to see Elon Musk sort of retweet that, put that out there as well, and he's working on our federal government and now retweeting, and they look at Derek Chauvin as all those protests as the woke sort of, time of glory, and that they really want to turn the clock back on all of that. And when I listen to people describe, Derek Chauvin being put in jail as one of the biggest factors that set race relationships back, not the killing of George Floyd, but the putting of Derek Chauvin in jail. So I'd say, you community, we have got to stay woke, stay vigilant. Here's the other thing I would say to you: do not allow political types to control your emotions and have you play the role of a pawn in their narrative. We don't want to be just going crazy over that, when that just fulfills a strategy that people have to utilize us in their broader initiative.
I think that's great insight, Eric. Just to pivot, I'm excited about today. It leads to some of the things we've been saying with regards to opportunities, with regards to individuals like you and I and others who are behind the scenes, in front of the camera, really moving the needle on economic inclusion. And so it goes beyond, but it includes gender, race, but it's social economic status. We have startups, small businesses, medium businesses, even large businesses that would like to get bigger. And how do they do that? They do that through partnerships, relationships, and obviously delivering on the services and products they promise. So with that being said, if I may, Eric, I would like to bring to the front of the stage our guest, our special guest, Mr. Robert Bell. Mr. Robert Bell, economic inclusion for Hamilton County, which is in Cincinnati, Ohio. It is an honor and is a pleasure to be with you this morning, Mr. Bell. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. Good morning. As I told you before, I'm happy to be with the original goats that are out here, the greatest of all time folks in this area. So I'm very happy and honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you once again. What we would like for you to do, if you don't mind, is kind of share a little bit more about you and what you do in your role. And then as our conversation continues, obviously we have our community, as I mentioned before, they'll chime in.
Okay.
And so we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, I started in Hamilton County in 2018, and my role is to help ensure economic inclusion success in two major areas: purchasing and procurement, but also human resources at that time. And I talk more about the purchasing and procurement in the last couple of years, and not as much about human resources. But my department is really involved with both areas very intensely. And that was my goal. That was what I was told that Hamilton County wanted my department to do. And so we started doing it. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, let me give you a few of the impacts. Yeah. And then I can answer questions about how it was done. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Well, one of the things that has happened over the past year and a half is that we started a group called the $1 Million Subcontracting Club for small and diverse companies, because we found out we have three major projects. This has been going on almost a year, but we have three major projects right now where there's a group of 2 to 3 minority contractors that are getting major subcontracts from these bigger primes, and the subcontracts are $1 to $2 million. Okay, and that has never happened before, and they're calling me and saying, "Wow!" And I've asked one printing company. I said, "Have you ever had $1 million subcontract?" He said, "Never."
Right.
Because we always felt that was the threshold for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he says, I'm amazed it's coming from Hamilton County.
Right.
So we're happy about that. And just stuff like that. When I came here and find out, I had to do Brent's marking and all that kind of stuff. And I can get into that later. But some amazing things. Women companies for the first time are making $250,000 with us. on contracts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm excited to hear
Right.
about that. And as you may know, and Eric, obviously you have some questions. As you may know, Robert, Make It Plain Consulting, our firm, we're the inclusion outreach consultant for the Brent Spence Bridge project.
Uh-huh.
So for those who are not from the Tri-State area, this is the bridge, the main thoroughway between Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio, and Northern Kentucky. And daily, there's about $1 billion of cargo that passes over the Brent Spence Bridge. It is the number one most congested highway in the state of Ohio and number two most congested highway in the nation.
Wow.
Our job in this project, they're redoing the project, building another companion bridge, where our job is to do two things. One, engage contractors and subcontractors to participate on this 10-year build. And two, identify and recruit the workforce that's going to do the work. Yeah. And so I'm excited to learn a little bit more about your how. You have the $1 million subcontractor, you have a couple of the 3 or 4 that have reached the threshold of $1 million, $500,000, et cetera. How have you done that?
Right. And I would say,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Before you even go there, I would just want to emphasize that Tommy and I both have our hands up for $1 million subcontractor opportunities. We both are available for that because these are elusive. And as the goats, as two of the goats, at the end of the day, Robert, you're talking about where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
All the talk that we can do in the world, at the end of the day, it's about getting business in the hands of those who are out here seeking opportunities and doing good work.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm like the movie Jerry Maguire, show me the money.
Right.
And I've been in this field a long time. Well, what I had to do, we started moving there. What I had to do when I came in, the commissioners created my department and position before they even hired for my position. Mm-hmm. And they were given that task by the Economic Inclusion Advisory Council. The commissioners put a group of experts together. Andre Ward from Kafka, Bernice Walker from Duke Energy, a whole bunch of folks that were great. It was 15 people that represented all segments of our community. And they came up with and they told the commissioners how it needed to be structured. And that was the best thing that ever happened for the department I have now, because they said it has to come from the top, and it needs to be a director position, and it needs to report directly to Jeff Aludo, the county administrator. Mm-hmm. And that was so necessary for where we've been able to get, and one of the reasons why. I've invited some of my current Economic Inclusion Advisory Council members to this thing today, and I just want to give a shout out to Charlotte Harris and Sean Bostic, who are our co-chairs currently, and to our past co-chairs. And these are co-chairs that worked, consecutively, or replacing each other over 6 years. Bernice Walker and Andre Ward. They were fabulous co-chairs of that division, and they ran a tight ship and kept me in line and my department in line and everything. So I want to give them a shout out. Yeah.
Excellent. Let me ask you this. How are you being impacted by the current attacks at the federal, state, local level on DEI? How is that impacting you? Do you have any concern that the work that you are doing could be in jeopardy?
Not directly, because we don't use federal funds. And see, their leverage is the federal funds, and they're using that. But as I'm hearing, those executive orders cannot deem anything illegal. The courts, right. Only the courts can do that.
Right.
Just because they say it doesn't make so. So my whole thing is, DEI is not illegal.
Right.
You know what I mean? They have no proof, no research, no study that would give a court to deem it so. So it was just a pronouncement for what they wanted everybody to think, but it's not illegal.
Yeah, but they're using soft pressure to get people to self-correct and to back off in many ways. And it's just, we're seeing the long arm of that. In corporate America, we're seeing fear just run rampant. Right. And you combine fear with some people's interest in eliminating these things anyway. And boy, you get something that's a problem.
Now, a lot of there's other departments at Hamilton County that are having some issues because they do get some significant federal funds. So, and I'm really feeling for them. But everybody is telling me, the experts across the country. I'm a member of GARE, Government Alliance on Race and Equity, very strong, and I'm in workshops all the time with what they're doing around this, and they're just saying, like you said, stay the course. We have to continue to do what we're doing because what we are doing is right. You know what I mean? They can call it whatever they want. They can come up with the narratives and stuff like that. But we also have to build coalitions and alliances and advocacy groups to counter all that misinformation that's going on.
And if we could, Robert, and we don't have to stay here very long, but I do want to get into the weeds just a little bit because you are the Director of Economic Inclusion for Hamilton County. And one thing I learned a little bit more today around the HR space, the human resources space. So if I am a business, be it a certified business, MBE, SBE, DBE, all of those letters that we have to secure to validate our existence as business.
Yeah.
What is kind of a short plan or steps to one, getting business with Hamilton County, right? Can you walk through that just a little bit?
Yeah, we're doing very well and I'll give you this little short story. When I first got there, I went to all the directors and had a meeting about my department and what we were planning on doing. And I went to the purchasing director at the time, and I said, because of my federal background, my background is federal background with HUD and the Housing Authority. I went to the person and said, can you let me see your vendors list, for Hamilton County. And she's not there anymore. But what she said at the time was, we don't really have one.
Right.
And what I knew was that all departments had their own. You know what I mean? Right. So from that, we started the Bold Contractor Directory. And that directory has grown to over 1,100 companies. It's the only one Hamilton County ever had that has, and anybody can get in the Bold list, but we make sure that if you're small minority and women-owned certified, that it's listed on your list on the Bold list. And people are using the Bold list from our website constantly. Human services groups, other organizations who are looking for minority and women or small contractors, they go to the Bold list regularly, and I hear it all the time. And we have practices now where Hamilton County purchasing departments, especially for small and micro purchases, they have to go to the Bold list first. Okay. And that has really shown a great increase in it. We don't have any problems getting people, to sign up with us now because they're hearing that people are making money. When I first got there, I had to almost beg companies to get on there because their feeling was we didn't want to work with them.
Right. And we've been on so many lists, and that's what Tommy and I have seen, that MBEs, WBEs, they've been on so many lists that are never actionable, that it's an exercise in futility.
Right.
Let me ask you to go back just a little bit and talk about what does economic inclusion mean, and then talk a little bit about the disparity study that was done and what was learned from that.
Well, great. Economic development, economic inclusion really means fair and equal treatment. And fair opportunity and that was my goal from the beginning, give everyone a fair opportunity to actualize all the significant economic opportunities that the county was putting out, 30, 40, 50, $60 million a year.
Right.
And so, what we had to do was put some stuff together in order to make that happen. And again, one of the things was the Bold list. But what I do, and when I started there, I was a department of one. I've got 5 people now, but I was a department of one, and I tried to work with every company I could who was interested. The first thing we got them to do is get registered on the Bold Contractor Directory. Then the next thing was to send them a list of stuff, and I would talk to them. The first 300 or 400 I talked to personally. I can't do everybody personally, but when I was first starting the first couple of years, I talked to each of them personally so I could get a feel for what they wanted, what they needed, what their capabilities were. And this was for all contractors, black, white, Hispanic, that didn't matter. But I was especially wanted to get a list that, a directory that really lists for are purchasing people, because when I went to the other directors and asked them how they were doing with small minority and women-owned businesses, they said, we don't know who they are.
Right.
You know? So they can't say that anymore. As a matter of fact, they're calling me all the time. Give me an update on the bold list. And we got it so that they can sort by small minority or women if they want, and they're doing that. And again, with some small purchases, that's low-hanging fruit that they need to go to the bold list first to make an attempt to find an adequate vendor. Yeah.
And it feels like the disparity study created some data, some evidence that there was a disparity in terms of the amount of minority business talent that's available in this area.
There's two parts to a disparity study. One is called a utilization review. It takes a year, and they cover 5 or 5.5 years of spending. And a utilization review, they review for ours, they reviewed every contract for 5.5 years, over $10,000, every one. And did the demographics on it, who won it, how much, what area was construction, professional services, goods and services, all that kind of stuff, and broke it down. As they do that, they also find out where our relevant market area is, which Hamilton County didn't really know till the disparity study, but it's a 9-county area around Hamilton County where we spend 95% of our money. As they're doing the utilization review, they also have a part of the disparity study company does what's called an availability review, which is finding out who are all the small minority and women-owned businesses and all businesses in our relevant market area. And to be able to, and you don't have to be certified for them to be able to list you, because not all companies get certified, right? Yeah. And there's called a diversity study ratio based on that, because you have to find what's called a statistically significant disparities between those groups. And our disparity study did that. Now, availability, a lot of municipalities and organizations, they're not correct on availability, because some of them have tried to use census data. The court will not accept that. Okay. But availability actually means availability, capability, and willingness. Not everybody wants to do work with us, which lowers your number, but it gives you a true number. And we take those availability data, and we got it down to painting companies, to cement companies, to architecture, but we take those availability data on small minority-owned and women-owned businesses and women-owned and minority businesses, and we use that as our goals. So we have a goal of 16% minority businesses each year based on the availability, and that's some true numbers that we should really be able to hit. And this year we hit that number, 16.7. And it was almost $10 million.
Right. Let me ask you a follow-up question, then I'm going to let Tommy jump back in here, because one of the things that we've seen is that sometimes when governmental bodies are looking at spend, they'll have a spend of a certain percent, but it'll be to a couple of big, large MBEs. Right. And then if you look at the rest of us out here, they're not really utilizing a breadth of MBEs and WBEs. How are you all navigating that?
Well, one is because there's only a few MBEs that can do a lot the bigger projects. They just don't have the the capability, the assets and stuff like that, the surety bonding capabilities and stuff like that. So but I found out through my work with HUD and the Housing Authority stuff is that subcontracting is the way to go for most of the. So we have subcontracting goals if they're doing subcontracting in all solicitations, not only construction, but professional services and goods and services. And that's what helped us reach almost $10 million this past year. And it gives a wider range of minority companies that benefit from it, and women companies and small companies. So but we're implementing new procurement software so we can capture all those numbers, because we never captured the subcontractor expenditures before, because we didn't have a process for it. We didn't have true procurement software. We had just a financial management system that the auditor lets us use, and we had to make do with that. But now we're able to capture those numbers, and it's fascinating. It is fascinating. But we have all goals. We have those goals in all solicitations, and they have to be reviewed through my office.
Yeah, I'm literally jumping out of my seat.
We want to be ambassadors for you, number one, because a lot more people need to know that you exist and what you do.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yes.
And so there are large companies that may request and look at the bold list. Obviously, there are departments within Hamilton County that are looking at that bold list.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share some direction, advice around those to be a subcontractor to a larger firm? What are some of the steps to make that happen? We do have a relationship, etc.
Yeah, they have to register with us,
Okay.
and they have to register on our new procurement software, and register with Hamilton County, and we, they send information, just send a request to us, and we'll ship them off of how to do business with Hamilton County. It's an email with 4 or 5 major things you need to do.
Okay.
And one is to get registered with us, because the only way you're going to make money with places like Hamilton County or city is you're responding to quotes, bids, and proposals.
Right.
We're not going to come and just hand you a contract. You see what I'm saying? So you've got, and then we work with any company, but especially those small and diverse companies, on how to do that quoting and stuff like that. Getting on the vendor list is good, because we spend money in a lot of ways. Anything under 2,500, they'll just call up a vendor, and when under 2,500, they have to go to the bold list first, and that has really helped. But that's a micro purchase. A small purchase is anything up to 75,000, and we do a lot of that.
Right.
For small purchases, they have to get 3 quotes. Well, one of the quotes, if at all possible, has to come from the bold list. That has sent, and we did a trend line on that from 20 to 23, just with those things, and the amount of money went like this for minorities and women businesses. So it's effective to have those, and what I call it the PSPE strategy, and that's policies, strategies, practices, and expectations. That's what you have to change,
right,
in organizational change. So we use that, and I got that from GARE and their equity framework.
Right.
Years ago, and so we will work with anybody who's interested. Erica Thomas is my small business the development person. I send them to her now, so I don't have to answer every call. but we'll work with you. If you call me and say, Robert, I have those women that I told you about that are getting $250,000 contract this past year. They called me up last year and said, we'd like to do business with Hamilton County. We never have. So I took them through the process, and others like that. And I can't ensure everybody's going to get a contract, but we make special effort. But I do that for anybody. We just had a majority, a white contractor that hadn't been on our list before, wanted to do business with us, didn't think it was possible. He's one of the new ones. I think we had 150 new vendors come on in the last 3.5 months on our list, and this white vendor won $1 million contract this month. You know what I mean? So it helps everybody. It helps everybody. And
we love that too. And that's why Tommy and I are saying that we want to make sure that we're ambassadors for you. I know I'm not a registered Hamilton County business, so I need to make sure that I do.
But Tommy is.
Yeah, right.
And he's benefited from that.
That's excellent. And I want to be in that line as well. Because sometimes businesses, we get so focused on doing good work, we're not really focused on being registering in all the places.
Right.
And for me, being an MBE has not always been of big value to me. I'm not just doing work.
Yeah.
But in today's world, people are beginning to look at DEI as the same as unqualified.
Right.
They want to turn the clock back and say whenever there's DEI, then it means unqualified.
Right.
But what we're seeing happen at the federal level is that they're going back to the old buddy days, where if you look like me, if you sound like me, if you think like me, then you get an inside track.
Right.
And if you look at the qualifications of many of those people, it's woefully below. And so I think that DEI has lifted qualifications. What are you seeing? How are you navigating that sort of almost belief that if we say inclusion, if we say DEI, that somehow it means unqualified?
Well, we just have to keep doing the results we have. I mean, for the first time, and the results have been amazing. For the first time, we have a Black accounting companies that are working on and managing all those hundreds of millions of dollars of county levy money. Okay, and our county people are just amazed with them. They're just great,
Right.
And we have everything to vending machine vendors, minority vendor machine vendors that they've never used before, and they're doing great work. So they have to experience it. You know what I mean, and get by that. But they're not gonna. We're not asking them to give it to anybody lesser qualified. These people have to compete for it.
Right.
And given the opportunity, a lot of them are competing very well.
Yeah.
That thing about they're just giving it to them because of that is just a reason for them to go against it, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? That they have no proof, no data, none of that kind of stuff that's happening, and we have data and proof and statistics to show it needs to happen. So we just got to keep on plugging around and doing what we're doing. But even catering and just getting on the boat list, just having catering companies have really helped our caterers be able to do more work. And it's about and because a lot of it's about relationships.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've done, and that's the program I started called Getting to Know You, with vendors and our purchasing department. And it's a non-binding meeting. It's not no obligations. It's information only. And I started it a couple of years ago because, again, people were saying, well, who are these people? And so I get the department purchaser people to agree to a 20 to 30-minute meeting, and started doing COVID. So it was virtual, but it's still virtual now, but it's worked very well. And we've got a number of companies and I even listed some of them in my last Economic Inclusion newsletter, that because they became part of BOLD and the Getting to Know You group, they're making good money.
You know what? I tell you what, Robert, you are one of the brightest lights that I've seen in a long, long time, man. I never expected that this conversation would be as positive and powerfully positive. Number one, I love your energy around the work that you're doing. I love your confidence that it's right. I love the fact that you are thinking inclusively, broadly of a lot of folks. And that's why we said we need to get you out and your message out there. But my question to you is, people are now wondering if they should even speak loudly around inclusion and inclusive practices, because it feels like when they come under the light that they are a target, and you don't seem to have that fear. But what's your view about sort of, how do we survive in this environment?
There's a paper that I've sent around to about 1,700 people who are on my contact list, and it's a paper put out by an organization that talks about how to combat political intimidation and violence. And it's amazing, and I'll send it to you guys. Because some of the people that I invited to this show have it, and my Economic Inclusion Advisory members have it. So I've been spreading it around because we need a consistent strategy to deal with this stuff, because that's what it is. I mean, it's political intimidation, and we can't fold to that. And the same thing that people had to deal with in the 60s. It's not going to be, fear free. But you cannot be frozen. You know what I mean? And we just have to refuse to be frozen. And I'm up for the fight. You know what I mean? You got to have somebody who's willing to fight.
That's right.
And people are calling me from all over the place in Greater Cincinnati. Well, who's doing what? And why ain't somebody doing this? And why is it? And I said, well, what are you doing?
Right.
Yep. Come on.
Now, when I said that, I had to ask myself, what are you doing?
Right.
So now I started a thing on LinkedIn of putting out these kind of common messages that we need to have, and we need to have them discussed and talked about and advocated for. And the whole thing about building alliances and coalitions with a common message is one of the things we definitely need. And we need to and people are gathering, because I'm working with All in Cincinnati, the group All in Cincinnati, to help promote this idea too, because I sent it to all their members as well. And I've also sent it to people in Lincoln Heights who are dealing with the Lincoln Heights issues, and trying to get more involved in all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to do my part. Yeah. And I'm intending, and with GARE has these trainings, Government Alliance on Race and Equity has these trainings regularly for members on all this stuff, and probably 3 or 4 times a week I'm at a half an hour training session, even on my lunch hour, of Gare that's going through all this craziness, and how do you address it?
Right. Yeah, Robert, again.
Now let me tell you one other thing that I'm really proud of. One is because in my federal program, this whole thing about contracting is about relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And I noticed that the small minority contractors that in my HUD programs, because I dealt with a lot of them there, the ones that were doing well had alliances. So last year I started a program called Mentorship Partnership Initiative, and that's where I get a prime contractor to hold a meeting. I do it in conjunction with Urban League's Small Business Development Center. And they're a good partner with us, Wanda Walker and Charlotte Harris from the Urban League. And it's an hour and a half meeting, 2-hour meeting that we set up in person. And the prime agrees, and I recruit primes for it. And I have 2 primes that have already done it already, and I'm getting ready to set up for 2 more primes, where they will meet with anywhere from 10 to 15 small minority women-owned businesses in a conference room on a round table. It's got to be equal kind of thing. And they talk about the prime comes in and talks about what they do, what they expect, why it's important for them. They feel this program is. And then all the vendors potential subcontractors get to go around and talk about their program. And the primes commit to taking a look at least 4 to 5 to see about subcontracting, support, or mentoring. And if I get that out of each one, that's a success. Mm-hmm. And I tell the vendors, but I have vendors coming to different ones because they didn't get it from the last one. Right. But the vendors love it because they said, this is the first time I ever got a chance to talk to this company. Right. I called and put it, and the primes say, wow, we didn't know this was down here. Mm-hmm. So we're really proud of our mentorship partnership initiative. Right.
So Robert, I want to say again that I love what you're doing. I love your passion. There are so many people under the rock of failure that they can't see the light. In some ways, I see you under the rock of success. I mean, you're making things happen in a lot of different places. And I'm not sure if you are as aware. I imagine you are. How could you miss this? But of the discouragement that's happening all around us as we look at the federal government dismantling all the things that are happening, for example, at the University of Cincinnati, where the multicultural centers are being disbanded and let go. And I'm saying that people need some light in this dark space. Yeah. And I would say that one of the things we have to do is not believe that we're the only ones being victimized. I think this being spread around to all kinds of communities, white people, veterans, just everybody.
Right.
But I think that one of the things that we need to do is figure out how do we get more people to hear what you're doing so that they can be encouraged that it's still opportunity for us to make it.
Well, I'm talking to people a lot. I get individual calls. I get calls from other cities, other states, because I did a presentation on Gare's national network about what I'm doing, and they loved it. This was late last year, and so I am working with as many people as I can. Yeah. And people call me up, and I try to give them as much time as I can. That's why I wanted to do your show also. And I'll do other shows, but it's not just me, because when people come and ask me, well, how did you do this? When I sent that trend line from 20 to 23 that showed that I got calls from everywhere because it went viral, and even the Ohio Department of Development, ODOT, all the chambers and all that kind of stuff. And they said, well, how do you do it? And I said, there's no secret to it.
Right.
It's equity framework is about systemic change. It has to be. You can do all the training and support you want, but if people's actions don't change, so that's why we came up with PSPE, policy, strategies, practices, and expectations. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we saw the trend line start when the expectations changed. Right. And then we got the policies in place and the practices in place, and that trend line went just like that. So and I tell people anybody can do it, and they look, what? Because if I can do it, anybody can do it.
You're laying out a blueprint.
Because that's what you need, and Gare and other people. I mean, my Economic Inclusion Advisory Council, Andre Ward, was just fabulous for that because that's his background, organizational development, right. And giving me advice and stuff. So I didn't do it by myself. I used resources. I use the Urban League, you know what I mean? I use the African American Chamber. I've got 47 community partners that I'm in touch with all the time. And we share information, and that has helped me. That has helped us. That has helped Hamilton County's success. It has helped me because I call that collective wisdom. You know what I mean? You can't do it all yourself. It takes a village. It takes a community. And they say it takes a village to help children. It takes a village to do economic inclusion, and it takes a community.
Yeah. Eric and I, we look forward to connecting with you and/or your staff to leverage this. I will share this that with our work at Make It Plain on the Brent Spence Bridge project, 10-year build, $3.6 billion budget, where it is right now. We are learning, we're doing economic inclusion as well. We're learning that there are small and medium-sized companies from across the nation who are coming to Cincinnati, Hamilton County, and kind of putting down a stake in the ground, literally establishing a business here.
Right.
And so from a construction contractor, subcontractor perspective, as well as workforce as well. And so what I'm hearing from you is an opportunity whereby as we make it plain for the Brent Spence Bridge project is being bombarded with requests from contractors and subcontractors that to answer their question around, is this real? Right. And also to lift up their spirits of, you know what, we can never get an opportunity. I'm thinking as I'm listening to you, Robert, we can also provide your office, right, to these contractors, particularly in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. So if folks want to say, hey, I want to work on the bridge project, well, it actually hasn't started yet, right? And then they say, okay, that's it. I can't get any more business in Cincinnati and Hamilton County. No, go to Hamilton County.
Right. Send them our way. Send them our way. Like I say, and they're coming in because like 150 new companies over the last 3 months. And
so what I would offer too is that one of the things I think is needed, Robert, is more light to the successful MBEs and small businesses. So we would certainly agree to invite several of your successful WBEs, MBEs, small businesses to talk about their success with Hamilton County. Because I think we need to get more light on that so that people can be encouraged that we're not just in a bad place for the next 4 years, that there's things that people are succeeding. Number two, what kind of businesses are you all still looking for? What are some areas that you all are saying we're not seeing enough MBEs and WBEs that are able to do that work?
Well, I'm going to send you my last economic inclusion quarterly newsletter because I list a number of them in there. I'm doing a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners as an update. We have in early April. We haven't got the final date yet, but I'm bringing in a couple of those kind of companies to talk because what I've been doing over the last few times I've done my economic inclusion newsletter because that's my main vehicle for getting information out. Right. Because I don't get interviewed by the papers and none of that kind of stuff. Right. But I put it out there and I say, this contractors, sometimes they don't want me to say all the money they're making, but that's why I did the the $1 million subcontracting club and I named the companies that are part of that. I don't say how much the contract was, but there were 3 companies on our 911 emergency management building that we're completing that building out in Springdale. The goal was 14% MBE. The contractor went to 14.7, but that 14.7 was $2.6 million. Three African American owned companies shared it. $2.6 million.
Right. One of the things that I'd add this to that Tommy and I have seen is that oftentimes cities, governmental bodies are better equipped to deal with construction companies. Yeah. And people that are providing widgets. They're not as adept at dealing with professional service providers like us. Tommy and I also believe that one of the fail points is between majority minority contractors when they're putting them together and they don't have the skills to value inclusion and work effectively together.
Right.
So
right.
we believe that there ought to be some provision made for every one of these partnerships, as that they have some help from companies like ours to make sure that they can have the kind of relationships and respect that will enable them to be successful.
Well, one is, just to let you, you can go on our list and see, with a lot of companies that are on there, you might want to send something too, because again, all solicitation has goals, and even professional services, A&E firms. And I lobbied for a full year before I got that approved to do it, because they were like, well, that shouldn't apply to them. And I'm like, no, I mean, we don't do anything without an A&E firm. So we need to, that's that's tens of millions of dollars a year that we need to be part of our economic inclusion goals. And we got that started last year. And for the first time, we have A&E firms working on the stadiums.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent.
We've got A&E firms, minority A&E firms that have multi-year contracts, because with A&E firms, they do 3 to 5 year contracts.
Yep.
So after that, well, you may not get another opportunity for 5 years. And there was never a African-American company that was part of that 3 to 5 year contract until now, because of the programs because we have solicitations in those RFQs and RFPs for A&E firms now. But that's what you have to do. I mean, you got it, it's policies, strategies, practices, and expectations.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I've got 5 different programs besides the small business in my department, and all of them do the PSPE. I make my staff get trained in it with the equity framework, and all of our programs, whether for children, for youth, for elderly, for the 513 relief bus, all that kind of stuff are all trained in equity framework and PSPE.
Yeah, Robert, I'm gonna invite you to ask your staff that may be joining us today, because the community, those who are sharing in the chat room, and then we know there's thousands of others watching. If someone from your team could maybe put in the chat the link, the access to what you're talking about, either the newsletter or the link, that would be great. We will continue to share that too.
Yeah, I let my staff know, but I'm not sure my staff is. Okay. I'm not sure who's here. Can I see the chat?
Yeah,
you should be able to. We'll be able to work it out. We don't want to burden you with that administrative task, if you will.
Right? Okay. Gotcha.
Here's what I would ask. So this has been quite helpful for us today and for our community. What is your succession plan? I know that you wonderfully, and there's a reason why I'm asking that. I know that you wonderfully said that you're going to be around for a while. Boy, Tommy and I are glad to hear that, because too often, by the time we get somebody, introduce them to our community, then they're retiring. We're like, hey, don't try to go to entrepreneurs. No, don't do that, because we need good people to still be inside of these organizations. But what I've seen, Robert, across my history is that it is individuals that drive the success of initiatives, whether they're in universities or in private sector organizations. And too often, when those people move on, so does that effort. And so what are you doing to make sure that structurally this is in place long beyond your existence? And then I would like, since we didn't talk about it at the beginning, to just tell people a little bit about more of who you are and what are the things in your own history and biography that have developed you to be the person that you are today.
Well, the first thing about succession plan, I really need to work on that. You know what I mean? I've got some good staff and stuff like that. But the goodness of this has all been commissioner approved. All the policies are in place. I've got all those things. I got the policies in place, the practices, strategies, and expectations, all written down. I mean, and then we got forms, we got templates, we have it all for that. So that person can just come in and hit the ground running with what we have.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
And I'm going to disagree with you respectfully.
Okay.
That too often, even when those things are in place, I think that you're minimizing the magic of who you are.
Okay.
Because what we've been wowed by today is your passion and your confidence and we can see it in your eyes that you can see success. And if a person can see it, then they begin to make it happen.
Well,
all of those things could be in the file drawers.
Right.
And if it's not somebody like you driving it.
Well, and you're right. You're right. I'm gonna take you to heart, because I really need to work on that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I know exactly what to do.
Right.
So I may be seeking some of you guys' counsel on doing that. But thanks for bringing that up, because you're right. You're right. I do kind of, because I'm pretty humble about this stuff.
Yes, you are.
I hate people that take everything is like coming from them. And they're so great.
And we'll brag about that.
Yeah. One of the things, if people know that I'm doing good work, they'll know it. I don't have to talk about it. I mean, I don't have to say it myself. What I say is that, just show me the money, and we'll go from there. But my background is I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, lived here most of my life, lived up in Washington, D.C. For a while, but decided to come back and go back to school, and got married and stayed, and had started having children. But my background is, my mother, basically, Catholic community. My mother was very active in the Catholic community in Walnut Hills. That meant to all of us, and I have 9 brothers and sisters, and so all of us were active, including my father, in that. And so, but it was about helping other people. My mother was very strong on helping others. Especially less fortunate to you, but helping others anyway, because God gives what you give, and He returns it, and I still believe that. One of the things, so I've always kind of done that kind of work. I worked with sickle cell families for a lot of years with Children's Hospital, but I've also did most of my career at United Way of Greater Cincinnati in various positions, helping nonprofits be successful. I did a program because I was working with doing strategic planning stuff with nonprofits. And we were evaluating their board, and we looked at how their board diversity was, and it wasn't good. So I asked to be sent to Washington, D.C. to get trained in a program called Project Blueprint, which was a minority board training program.
Right.
And I did that I did that training. It was a 6-month training once a year. I did that training for 11 years.
Wow.
And graduated over 350 people. And I still run into people say, "You got me started in this."
Right. I was on the board of the United Way when you were doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
You were. And that was a great learning experience for me. It really was. And I did a lot of volunteer work myself at that time as well, on boards and committees and stuff. So that all just kind of translated into who I am today. I mean, I still feel I have an obligation. One of the things was my father, did not have a very strong education, because he was raised in the South, and they put him on at work, and their schools only lasted half a year. I mean, didn't even last half a year, and then they had to put them in the field. My mother had a high school education, but both of them knew that education was key for their children's success, and it was not even something you could decide to do. You were going to do it. Right. What I mean? If I didn't want my whooped. So grades and all that kind of stuff. And so when I came back from Washington, D.C., I went back to school and got my MBA, and it was the best thing I ever did. It really helped me be focused and what I want to do the rest of my life.
Yeah, excellent story, beautiful story. Again, a testament of how dreams can become reality. Yeah. And I say that not to be hokey or corny or anything like that. Just in the world of business, Eric and I both agree that people run businesses.
That's right.
Yeah. People run organizations. Right. And so it's the people's story that really inspires and drives the success of the work that's done in the organization. And so our community, and we're sharing, as we're talking with you, the brightness in your eyes, the intelligence, the historical biography, the wisdom, the strategic and tactical approach to economic inclusion. It is not what you do. It is who you are.
Right.
And so we speak to other companies that people may create their company based on their passion point, maybe a skill, maybe something they like, right? And so that's when it doesn't become work. And that's also when the relationships really matter. It's really following up. It's reaching out. It's getting a door shut or a phone call not returned and saying, "I don't take it personal. Let me call back."
Yeah.
Let me call back. That's what I am learning as my company is been taking notes from your work and Hamilton County's work and how to partner with these large primes, not only in Hamilton County, Southwest Ohio, but across the nation. That's one of our strategic goals.
Right.
To go to other cities and say, hey, do you have this partnership, mentorship opportunity? Yes, we do. We want to be on that bold list. We want to be
okay, we'll do. Let me just say one other thing if you're talking about who I am. My mother was a leading thing. My father was a leading figure in my life because he consistently worked. He had to, he was a welder, a steel welder and that kind of thing, but he worked. And one of the things that my family taught me is that we're raising you. We are proud people. Yeah. We know what we can do. We set our goals. We do it. She says, you act proud everywhere and always. There's nobody better than you.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily better than anybody else, but there's nobody better than you. And I was raised to believe that.
Right.
Right. You know
right.
what I mean?
Well, I'll add this. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Right? No. That was it. That was just a key thing about having confidence in yourself.
So I love that. And let me say to you, as one who has now received from you today, that confidence has not crossed the line of arrogance. Right. You have a beautiful amount of confidence, but also a huge amount of humility that we appreciate. Yeah. I would say to you, Robert, that you are a unicorn that we've not seen. You're not a common individual. We've not seen other people like you. I would say that Tommy and I want to give you your flowers while you are alive. You are a giver of life. And today, this morning, you've given life to many in our community. One of the things that I'll be doing, I do it after most shows, is I'll take a couple excerpts and snippets and I'll put them out on social media. I'm going to send you the link because I want you to have your staff do the same, Robert.
Okay.
People need to hear from you, your enthusiasm, your passion, but all of those things would be hollow if they don't have your PSPE. Yeah. Policies, strategies, practices, and expectations.
Systemic change.
Yes, that's exactly what we got to get there. There's no way to get there unless you have structural and systemic change. So thank you for bringing the heat this morning and the wisdom this morning. Man, it's been powerful.
It's been powerful. Eric, wow. Look at the time, right?
Gone.
This is what happens when we have rich conversations. Once again, I would like to tell the audience, share with the audience, thank you for joining us this morning. We've been blessed. We've been honored. Yes, it is a privilege to have heard and be with Mr. Robert Bell, who's the Director of Economic Inclusion for Hamilton County here in Cincinnati, Ohio. With that being said, for all of us on this beautiful Saturday and beautiful weekend, we would like to thank you for joining us on another installment of Diversity Conversations. Take care.
Take care now.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.